I'm going to make some assertions about humanity's origins that might sound crazy, so if you want to be entertained, stick around. At the least, you can call me crazy by the end of this video. This has everything to do with the fact that we've been seeing a lot of recordings of extraterrestrial activity in our skies, in the ocean, and enclaves, and near nuclear sites. What I'm about to share isn't coming directly from me. It's not something that I cooked up or concocted, but it's coming from extraterrestrial consciousness. See, I've lost you already. But the most efficient way for extraterrestrials to communicate with humanity at this time in our evolution isn't through the radio like our movies portray, but it's actually through telepathy, where they transfer thoughts to our mind. In fact, they have been in contact with indigenous tribes all around the world since the beginning up until this point, and helping scientists for the last 50 years with technological advancements, and helping the spiritual community break through the barriers of religion to understand what God truly is. They have been helping humanity evolve in a positive direction and not devolve into a global nuclear catastrophe. There is a passage in the Christian doctrine that says, in the beginning, God created man from its own image and likeness. This has been misleading for thousands of years because 1, God is spirit, and 2, God does not have legs because God is spirit, and 3, God doesn't have arms because God is spirit. This misunderstanding has been crystallized in our collective consciousness, an inaccurate description of creation, our creator, or dare I say, creators. And God said, let us make man in our own image and likeness. The word God means Elohim, which is a plurality, so there's many gods. Who were these many gods? They weren't angels. In ancient times, they did not have the term to describe beings from the sky, so they just called them beings from the sky, or they used God. But why would beings from the sky come down to earth to create man in their own image and likeness? These beings, or aliens, were called Anu, also known as the Anunnaki. These beings were humanoid, similar to the natural hominids that were already on Earth at the time, who were Homo erectus, and these beings were Homo galactus. The reason why these beings came to Earth is that they were dealing with their own planetary issues, planetary imbalances in their atmosphere, and the only way they can remedy these climate disasters was with a mineral that can only be found on Earth: gold. Gold is actually an environmental balancer if we used it to mitigate our climate change instead of commodifying it as jewelry or a monetary exchange. So the Anunnaki government from their world appointed a contingency to come to Earth to mine the gold. But once this contingency arrived, they realized that the task at hand was much more than they anticipated. So they basically created laboratories, took the Homo erectus, injected their genes through hybridization program, basically upgrading them to humans by creating Homo sapiens in their image and in their likeness to work as slaves to mine gold so they can oversee it as gods. The reason why they upgraded them other than work as slaves was so that they could relate to them, so they can teach them, and in some cases so they can mate with them. These hybridization programs happened in parts of the Middle East and parts of Africa, and it wasn't overnight. It took hundreds of years to create the first humans. Adam was not his name. Adam just means from Earth, or from the natural order, or from Homo erectus. The female was created first and not the male. The female gave birth to the male in birth pains because the human engineer was not natural. The human head was much larger than Homo erectus. If it wasn't for the hybridization program, we would all have evolved to become Bigfoots. That was our natural evolution. The reason why Sasquatch are so hard to find is because they evolved closer to nature and developed capabilities of entering interdimensional realities where it makes it harder to find them. These Anunnaki beings averaged about 16 feet in height, had slightly bluish tinted skin because they were blue bloods. Because humanity was created in the image and likeness of the Anunnaki, over some time the Anunnaki began to mate with the females, and because they were extremely tall, they created giants, whom the humans called demigods. But the Anunnaki were not supposed to create humans. It was not a part of their assignment. In fact, they were told not to, let alone mate with their creation. The story of the knowledge of the tree of good and evil is about the human DNA and chromosomes, markers that were turned off by the Anunnaki, that contains our capabilities and powers that the Anunnaki did not want us to exhibit because it was not in their best interest. It was in their best interest for us to believe we were slaves. The snake represents our spinal cord that carries knowledge and information through our chakra system from our pineal gland. The mythology of Greek gods and other ancient stories are directly correlated with the Anunnaki beings that came to Earth long ago. When the government of their world found out that this group of Anunnakis had created humans, they recalled them. And because their damage had already been done, they felt some sort of responsibility to guide humanity. At the same time, they allowed humanity to evolve on their own while keeping a watchful eye, hence the Watchers in the Book of Enoch. In the Christian doctrine in the Book of Genesis, it talks about how it repented God that he had created man. This is what that's in reference to. But also, this is where the idea of fallen angels comes from. When these Anunnaki beings created humans, it was in secret and disobedience from their government. Therefore, humanity inherited the types of negativity or sin found in their characteristics of defiance. This is how we inherited violence, human destruction, and servitude since the beginning of time. Which brings me to why we're seeing so many extraterrestrial activities in our skies. The Anunnakis did not just come to Earth, but they spread their DNA across galaxies. All of these extraterrestrials that are coming to Earth, we are related to. So essentially, it's one big family reunion.